Hello everyone, today we're taking a look at the Foxeer Nano Predator 5, just like it says in the box. It weighs just under 5 grams, and it's our typical 14mm mounting pattern. From the lens to the back, it looks like 19.5mm. From the lens to the connector, it looks like 23mm. Comes with a mounting adapter, some screws and washers for mounting, a control board, and a sticker. Starting off a little atypical, take a look at the garage and the straight lines so you can take a look at any lens distortion that might be discernible or anything that stands out to you there. Some people are highly sensitive to that, so I try to show it. And then we move on to our typical light test with the cloth, which I have misplaced. I don't know where that cloth went. Right up against the lens, about 1.5 feet away from the lens, and then about 3 foot, or as long as my arm can extend while holding the quad in front of my body. So we do the little light test. Look how low the sun is. Kind of a depressing sight the winter solstice is. We do a slight pan around, and I did leave the Foxeer OSD on screen. We've seen a few cameras come out recently that didn't have an OSD. So this one does, something to note. And we look at the oil spots that someone left in our driveway. Not very happy about that. Okay, let's move on to the flight. Here we go, we take off. I am recording this, as always, on my Tomo Quads. Oh, I forget the name of it now. It's a Tomo Quads frame, 2.5-inch frame. I've been using it for years. Starts with a K. I can't remember the name. I should stop the recording and start over. But visit tomoquads.com if you're looking for custom frames. He's always designing new frames. Specifically, he does a lot of micro frames. And I've got one of his coming up very, very soon. I've been trying for months to get that wrapped up. But we also are recording on a RunCam DVR that's built onto the quad. That's why you don't see OSD elements from the quad itself, is because that OSD or having that board in there kind of skips the Betaflight OSD elements. So we get a little bit of a more clear picture. We don't have to worry about a video breakup. You get to look at just the raw image that the camera records, at least as far as the DVR board shows. Going a little faster than usual. I don't know if I had too much coffee this day, but yeah, seems like my slow cruise around the neighborhood picked up a pace or two, but I went ahead and left it as is. You know, we don't have a lot of really good outside flying days these days. Winter has set in. We did have one nice day here recently, which I took advantage of and flew a whole bunch of flights on 2 different quads, which we'll see coming up. I should have had that Tomo Quads Predator X4 frame out, but I didn't have any batteries charged. I didn't realize the weather was going to be so nice. But we fly in and out of the shadows. We get the sun stare straight at the camera, so we get to see how the camera reacts to that. We get to see the snow people, the air snow people that my neighbors have. Of course, the red truck. Red truck, in my opinion, in this particular camera, the red looks pretty true to life. It's not blown out or orange. And then we also have an Amazon Prime over there. He actually came over and was talking to me about drones. Didn't seem to be in a hurry, which kind of surprised me a little bit. We must have talked for probably 15 minutes or so. So if you're wondering why your Amazon packages aren't reaching you as quickly, it's, well, if you live in my neighborhood, it's partly my fault. Okay, let's move on to the next bit of video footage. I want to show you the end, because I talked about how I was talking to the Amazon guy. You can actually see him kind of walking up the sidewalk. He doesn't have a package for me or anything. But so he comes up and we chat for a minute, and I park it right in front of the garage. So another opportunity to see the straight lines in the camera view as well. So if there is lens distortion, I know the earlier look we got was relatively quick. So this gives you another opportunity to see that as well. He was surprised to find out the quad that I was flying was so small. He didn't realize they had them so small. And then, of course, you get a lot of the typical questions of, you know, how fast can it go? How high can it go? So you have one of those fun conversations. This is our nighttime, just kind of walking it around. I'm also going to go for a fly. To my surprise, I found that this camera actually did fairly reasonably for a camera that doesn't really specialize in low light. And then I've got some more nighttime footage that I wanted to show you because that secondary nighttime footage is going to differ from this a little bit. So take note specifically of that sky. Even though it's cloudy out, it's not the same sort of cloudy. And I think you'll notice the difference when I play it. It's just seems brighter because the type of cloudy that it is. You get a lot more of that reflection from that shopping center that's just up the road, with the grocery store and a strip mall and stuff over there. But it seems in the secondary footage I'm going to show you, it seems much more brighter. So I wanted to show you the two of those things, especially for people who might be looking in the warmer weather to fly parking lots, or, you know, just what kind of low light performance it has. We have a little bit of that variance in there. I'm going to set it down and we're going to go for a fly. Just a little tootle around the neighborhood. Not completely comfortable, but I'm keeping it low to the ground here. Just going to fly around the neighborhood. It's got to be about 8:30 at night. I think I just got back from running a quick errand to pick up some groceries from somewhere. That's my recollection. This was probably more than 2 weeks ago. I've been a little bit late getting some of the videos out just because, you know, the holiday season, you got a lot of things you got to take care of as well. But we're gonna take it for a spin and try to keep this. I can do a side by side, I guess. Maybe that's what I should do at the end for the hardcore people that really watch videos all the way through. I can do a side by side of the two nighttime flights. If you're interested, I'll have that coming up after I show you the cloudy flight that I've already kind of prepped you for here. We'll do a side by side comparison of that as well. It's easy enough to do with my new, faster processing PC. It is worth noting for anybody who's new to the channel that my neighborhood is dark. You note that we don't have street lights. We have lamppost lights in our yard, and you see that my neighbors most of them have it, and they have a working light bulb in it. Well, all of them have it. Some of them have a working light bulb in it. And of course, the variance of, you know, whether that's a 40 watt or 60 watt or 100 watt light bulb, that really varies. And it looks like mine isn't actually kicking on because we've wrapped that post in Christmas lights. So the light doesn't actually kick on because it thinks the sun's out. I'm going to let you watch a touch of this footage here, but I think we're just about ready to wrap up because it was really cold and I am in shorts. Let's go into that other nighttime flight that I spoke of. This is pre-flight. I just want to show you this. I'm switching the scenes by pressing the left button on the controller, and you see down on the lower right, it flashed LED. You might need to go back, and then it goes to black and white, and then it goes to color. So that gives you an idea, specifically with some Christmas lights. And then see how that moon's real low, but it's actually pretty cloudy. And, well, the moon's low because that's the time of year we're at. But in this footage, you can definitely see the moon, whereas it's still cloudy, but you can see the difference in the lighting effect that it has. Also, if you do light tracks, the LED scene may help you identify whether this is a camera that you want to use in your nighttime racing environments. This is that flight footage I talked about that I was going to show you, but I'll do a side-by-side after we watch this a little bit. It kind of one of those things that I think unless you do nighttime flying very often, and I hope this is useful for a few people out there that do live in those warmer areas, whether it's in the U.S. during the summertime or if you live in the Southern Hemisphere this time of year, to where this might help you decide whether this is a camera you're interested in it or not. But it gives you a secondary nighttime sort of view. I would think this would be a little bit closer to what you might experience in a large parking lot. I've never flown in a large parking lot, but so I'm just guesstimating. You can definitely make out the ground a lot better in this view than I could in previous. Even in the very, very dark areas, you can tell where the ground is a lot better. It's even better in the goggles, of course. The DVR only does so much to really show us what the goggles are like. Of course, with goggles, we can use contrast and brightness and saturation to tune them in to our eyes or our needs. I'm going to do a sloppy, large orbit around the neighbor's Christmas decorations, and I have included this because I noticed that flicker on the lights on the trunk, which I kind of didn't expect because I don't see that same flicker on the green and red lights. So that's interesting. Hadn't seen that before. Some of the areas are even more well lit just because neighbors' lighting changed. You know, like that house we passed had a floodlight that happened to be on. I'm not sure if it was triggered by motion or movement or if they actually turned it on and just maybe they forgot it was on. It's not typically on, but that helps to light up the neighborhood. The neighbor directly across the street, they have a security camera attached to that light. So it does oftentimes detect movement, especially when there's a little bit of a breeze. The leaves moving around in the yard will sometimes trigger that. Of course, we do have cars that come down in the neighborhood and turn around. We have a few teenagers that live in the area, so when they're parking in the street, maybe they need to park on the other side of the street, so they use the cul-de-sac to turn around. But this is some of that footage. Let's go into the side-by-side footage so you can take a quick look at the two different lighting scenarios at nighttime. That might be useful. If it's not useful, please let me know. I won't bother to keep you. I'm not trying to run up the clock or anything here. It's just something, because I took the extra time, I thought I might show it to you and then get kind of take your temperature for whether it's useful for you or not. Now, it's not as though I'm always going to do this, though, because sometimes when it comes to camera reviews, they're actually some of the probably the least interesting videos, just because the view count isn't very high generally for them. So I don't tend to spend a lot of time on camera reviews, just kind of fly them around. Maybe takes me 2 or 3 days, depending upon the weather, and then I put them together in an edit. So I can usually get a camera review done in about 5 days, sometimes even shorter, depending upon what's going on in my household and the weather. But that's a look at the side-by-side comparison as well. I think that I like the camera, but again, that's just my opinion. You need to make your own judgment on whether it's a camera for you or not. I do note that on the website, it does retail for $36.99, and that's something to consider. It comes in black and red. It also comes with a version which just has a pad instead of a connector. So if you want to save a touch of weight, or maybe just make it a little bit easier to fit in your quad, especially if you're flying a micro, you might be interested in the pad version. And I'll link these down below so that you can check them out for yourself. I didn't show it in the quick roll. I seem to have misplaced. All the cameras come with a wiring harness. So if you didn't see that, it's not because I was trying to hide it. It's just, it wasn't in the box. So I must have done something with it, but I haven't seen a camera that didn't come with a wiring harness yet. So I presume it will be in your box when you get yours, provided you don't misplace it like I did. Okay, so that is the Foxeer Predator Nano 5, a new, it's positioned as a racing camera in the market, but I would say general use, freestyle, whatever you think. You might, if you like the camera, use it whatever capacity you want. Let me know what you think. I threw a couple questions at you during the flight footage about what I should do in the future and how much time I should spend on something like this. Hopefully it was useful for at least a handful of you, and it helped you decide whether it was something you want to put on your list or something you just want to pass on. If you have any comments, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please let me know. Yeah, in that section down below. I appreciate your time, and thanks for watching.